Today we're talking about Cicada 3301, one of the internet's greatest mysteries. Was it created by the CIA? Was it created by the Secret Service? Was it created by some bored weirdo in his basement? Today we're going to get to the bottom of one of the internet's greatest mysteries. Who exactly invented Cicada 3301? I am ready to rock, I think. All right. Will,
Yes.
what's like your favorite mystery?
I mean, I have a simple one that I've been thinking about lately, which
Okay.
is literally just how a supermarket works and like
Fascinating.
how they know how to keep everything on lock, because it kind of terrifies me to think about it too much.
I once had a buddy who was working for like a large shipping and logistics firm that dealt with supermarkets, and he was doing data for them. And he told me
That's
that
exactly what I'm talking about. That terrifies me.
he discovered something horrifying, which was that they don't have any data. They actually didn't know. This was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but he was like, yeah, it was crazy. We assumed they would know, like, oh yeah, this supermarket ordered 200 cartons of eggs and they received 200 cartons of eggs. And it's like, no. It's way crazier than that.
I mean, because that's exactly where I'm coming from. Is like, I thought that was all on lock everywhere.
No one knows anything that's going on.
My entire family owned supermarket chains, and all of them were idiots. And this doesn't surprise me at all. And it's also why there was a bunch of supermarket scams, because it's really easy to fudge inventory. So you should be worried.
It's something that stresses me out when I think about it too much, where I'm just like, from my personal perspective, being a person who's very like ADHD locked into like having a lot of the same food a lot, because it's kind of like a safety zone for me to not have to overthink cooking or anything like that. And so I buy a lot of one thing at one time, and then I get stressed out that, like, do they know that? Does the supermarket know that I just sold them out of whatever this thing is, and are they going to get it back soon enough for when I need it again? You know what I
There
mean?
was that story about Target that accidentally predicted a woman was pregnant before she knew, based on her shopping purchases, like her shopping history.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
That makes sense.
That can
but
happen.
It's totally crazy. Yeah.
From my understanding, a lot of that happens at like the rewards program level. That's where like the real data stuff is happening. Anyways, the reason I ask about your favorite mysteries, because today we're going to be talking about a mystery. We're going to be talking about. Okay, I got to be really careful. Grant and I did not have time to discuss this, but like there's a section of our audience that if we say ARG, will be so blindly angry. And we have gotten like many comments begging us to stop using this term, ARG or alternate reality game. Because in fact, there was like a comment on an episode of ours recently that was like, listen to this for an hour and at no point do they explain how this was an ARG. And the first line in our outline today is that this is an ARG. And I'm going to say, I don't know. If anyone listening has any differing thoughts about whether or not this counts as an ARG, I don't care and I don't want to hear it. And I don't ever want to hear about it ever again. So I'm going to use different euphemisms for ARG instead. But specifically what we're going to be talking about today is Cicada 3301. And who was behind this 4chan game? A secret organization, the Illuminati, the CIA, very organized teenagers. My name is Ryan Broderick. Joining me, as always, is our producer, Grant Irving, who is playing an ARG. He's a big fan of ARGs. You can talk to him about ARGs. This is Panic World, a show about how the internet warps our minds, our culture, and eventually reality. And with us today is Will, better known as Baths. I have to say, I saw you at Baby's All Right probably 2 years ago now. It was unbelievable. Great
Thank
show.
you so
I'm a big
much.
fan.
Thank you very much.
Grant was also there.
Yeah.
Grant was also there.
And not because we hang out, we can't stand each other. We were like, oh fuck, we're accidentally in a room together. Yeah.
We bumped into each other. Yeah. And I didn't really recognize him because like I never see the lower half of his body. We only talk via Zoom. Who are
Just
you?
like, what is this?
I was like,
who is this? Why are you talking to me?
I had to make a portrait
That's right.
around myself
So I could be
for
comfortable
Ryan to be
talking
like,
to
oh right.
But Will, have you played any ARGs before?
What I want to say is yes, because I am such a games person and I have tried so many different things that my brain is telling me I probably have, but I don't know what you're talking about. So I can't say it with full certainty.
Okay, well, I'm going to show you something here, and you can tell me if you have ever seen this before. This is sort of the beginning of our story today. This would be how most players encounter this. So it's a screenshot that reads, "Hello, we are looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, we have devised a test. There is a message hidden in this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck, 3301. Have you ever seen this before?
I have never seen this before.
Okay. Fun fact. I think I have seen this before, and I completely forgot about it until it came time to put this episode together. But this was first posted on a website called 4chan.
I know about
In
4chan.
2012. So tell me about your experiences with 4chan.
I have a very specific experience with 4chan that I don't think was the actual website. I think there was like a different alternate or fake version of it that was a different number, like 3chan or 2chan or something like that, that hosted muscular gay illustration art. As like a thread, as like a Reddit type thing. And there
humans or like furries?
Both, all of it. Like it was subdivided into all the different categories or whatever. And so I never frequented the actual 4chan website. I frequented this thing that was like similar to it. And then I heard people, I think, associated with it, but it wasn't. It was just for like horny illustrations.
I googled muscular gay art 4chan and nothing immediately came up that sounds like that. But now,
so that's what I mean is it wasn't 4chan. It was a different site.
Right.
And whatever this website is that I was on, it was like somebody kind of, I think, cheekily making something that was like, oh, let's put Chan in the title so people like associate it.
I see. That makes sense. And yes, you are right. There was like a lot of these kind of like 4chan derivatives, 4chan variants flying around in the 2000s. So Cicada 330 was written about by the Sydney Herald, who talked to someone who first saw the message.
Mm-hmm.
A guy named Joel Eriksson, who was a Swedish computer analyst in his mid-30s. And the Herald writes, a self-confessed IT security freak and a skilled cryptographer, Eriksson's interest was immediately piqued. This was, he knew, an example of digital stenography, the concealment of secret information within a digital file. It is ultimately a battle of the brains, he says, and I have always had a hard time resisting the challenge. Is this do you know people like this? Is this something that you would sort of do? Is this how you would react to kind of a weird thing you saw on the internet? Would you dig deeper?
No, but I have a way of relating to this that's really specific, where it's like that type of shit, like that type of puzzle where it immediately is like you need to be thinking so far outside of the box that it's next to impossible to solve it type of thing. I've never been good at that. I like puzzles, but I like where it's like contained within the puzzle format. I have friends who created a lot of games as arcane kids. That was their name.
Okay.
And they made this game a while ago that it was like a horny Sonic game, kind of like a dating sim, but it wasn't. And
was
there
it
was
Sonic Inflation Adventure?
It might have been. Like the really crazy one.
The one where like Shadow the Hedgehog goes to court.
I think so.
It was like a Newgrounds game. Yeah.
Or no. Not Newgrounds.
Are you talking about the murder mystery on the train one they did for Sonic's anniversary, like the official one?
No.
Okay.
Way before that, and it was 3D and it was hyper indie 3D. And it was like
let me do horny Sonic 3D game dating sim.
I'm mentioning this for a specific reason, though. I have to explain why I'm mentioning this, because it's not even about all of that. It's about the fact that to solve certain things in it, to get like 100%, to get all the collectibles in it, there were aspects to playing that game that I couldn't even fathom, where there was a means of like you had to quit the game, delete one file within the framework of all the files they had in the game, and then reset it and then reload the game, and then it gave you access to the final collectible.
Oh, like Doki Doki Literature Club.
Exactly. Shit like that.
Yeah.
And so like the first time I'd ever experienced the fact that like a puzzle can be like that in a computer, I was like, that's crazy. I never in a million years would have thought of that type of shit. And so you telling me about this, I'm kind of like, it seems like that tier of thing. And that's exactly the thing that I would never interact with, where I would be like, I see that, no fucking way, because I can't think that hard.
Totally. Totally.
There was a moment of like looking into Sonic's eyes for so long that they start to congeal and coalesce into one eye.
Yeah.
It was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I think
he doesn't have the thing in the middle. He doesn't have like his eyes are just one big eye.
Yes.
Except for in the live action movies where they gave him like proper eyes. So back to our man Erickson here. He tries cracking this code and he realizes that it's a Caesarean cipher. Have you ever heard of this? I have never heard of this before. Okay.
No. I know a Caesarean section. That's all I know.
So
I'm assuming it's something you got to cut and go deeper, do it by hand. Something.
So it's based off Julius Caesar, who used it in private correspondence, actually. And it replaces characters by a letter a certain number of positions down the alphabet. Okay. So Erickson needed to know about this technique and he needed to know a bit of history. He figures out that there's a web address buried in the image's code. And I'm going to share my screen here and show you what the image looks like.
Whoops, just decoys this way. Looks like you can't guess how to get the message out. And it's a picture of a brown and yellow duck.
So it's like a troll, basically. It's like it's like that movie from, was it The Snowman or whatever? Mr. Policeman. You know what I'm talking about?
You couldn't find all the clues or whatever it was.
Or Zodiac or any.
Yeah, it's that horrible movie, The Snowman, that has a
Fassbender.
Fassbender, and it has a poster there. It's Mr. Police. You could have saved her. I gave you all the clues. But in this case, it's a duck. So Erickson is realizing that this is going to be a pretty elaborate puzzle. And he and a bunch of other people across the internet are, trying to solve it, try to figure out who's behind this elaborate project. And we're going to get back to them in just a second. Because one thing that made this game different was that it wasn't viral marketing.
Sure.
In the 2000s, there were a lot of people who were realizing that they could use the internet to sort of tell stories and play games in ways that weren't possible before. Mm-hmm. We've done previous episodes about like the Blair Witch Project and sort of how that spread online. But one of the earlier examples of this around that time was also the movie AI. Did you ever see Steven Spielberg's AI?
Hell yeah.
I think it's one of my favorites, actually.
I love that movie to death.
I think the ending is like truly beautiful. It's like a great movie. So part of the promotion for that movie, the studio hired a team to create an elaborate cross-media mystery in 2000. Slate writes at the time, in the trailer for the forthcoming Steven Spielberg Stanley Kubrick movie, if you look at the notches on the word summer 2001 at the end, they form a phone number. Call that number and you start down an enormous convoluted path of cross-references, puzzles, and red herrings. A science fiction murder mystery that involves email, faxes, voicemail messages, and at least 15 distinct websites. I don't know why you would do that for that movie.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I understand
you
that
get
kind of
a free ticket at the end, or like, what the fuck?
It would bring you to a rally for a fictitious anti-robot organization that were being held in New York, LA, and Chicago. Yeah.
Classic.
Pretty cool. I mean, I totally get why you would do that for a movie like Cloverfield. I don't totally get why you do that for a movie for, AI. And they were fun. Like they were sort of seen as like innocent and cheeky. Yeah. A few years later, another one got dropped called I Love Bees for the video game Halo 2. Did you ever play any of the Halo games?
I played a bit of them through a friend, but I never had an Xbox and most of my friends didn't. So it missed me. But I was talking about Marathon a second ago. That's the new game from Bungie.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how to explain this, but like Xbox to me was like too masculine of like to own as a teenage boy. Like I wasn't that kind of
one is masculine, not even the system itself.
Like I wasn't the chain ball necklace kind of teen boy in the 2000s. And fair. All of those guys, the guys who look like Tony Soprano's son. I wasn't those kids, so I didn't have an Xbox. I had a GameCube, or I had a PlayStation 2, right?
We were a PlayStation household. Even from the first system, I never had an N64. We were PlayStation, and so like my Mario was Spyro. Like that's what I grew up on. You know what I mean?
I really liked Croc.
Croc was. Have you been back to it?
I just remember being very hard. Like a very hard game.
The worst controls that have ever existed in the history of video games. It's crazy.
I spent like a year playing the first level of Croc, and that was like because it was just too hard to do.
Based off of the Sonic conversation, when you said it was very hard, I got concerned that you were being horny.
No.
No. Very
Uh,
difficult. Very difficult.
Oh yeah. So for the I Love Bees Halo 2 promotion, there's a bunch of emphasis on like basically using the internet to like let people find in location events, and they were like playing recordings from payphones, like pretty cool. I actually just saw like a viral marketing thing the other day about like a game that could be played via existing payphones. Like you could call. Yeah, I saw someone on like Twitter or something like talking about like we're gonna set up this thing where you could call a toll-free number on a payphone and it would like capture the flag, but with like the payphones left in cities, which I thought was like a cool idea.
That is cool.
Yeah. In 2005, we get a non-promotional version of an ARG, Perplex City. It's conceived and run by the Beast player and Garbage Day reader Adrian Hahn, who will absolutely be messaging me about our inaccurate discussion of ARGs. He is the leader of the section of our audience that gets mad at us every single time. I think the only way to sort of rectify this is we'll eventually have to have Adrian on to talk to him about it, because God, does he have a lot of points that we screw this up a lot. So funding comes from selling cards with puzzles on them. The winner who doesn't get to the end until 2007 gets $200,000. Not every pretty good amount of money for that. Not every puzzle was necessary to win, and some were so hard they weren't solved until 2020.
Jesus Christ.
We also, at this time period, start to see like Trent Reznor experimenting with ARGs, which, you know, makes total sense. Like that. There's like a leaked USB drive that he's like leaving in bathrooms that like people can find. I love this stuff. Like I never did geocaching. Did you ever do geocaching?
My entire experience with everything you're talking about is like to a boundary, like to a certain level that I know I was interested in, but then the tier of thinking that I think a lot of these took was like a barrier to entry for me, where like I got really into the viral campaign for the movie The Ring when it was happening, where there was like a bunch of weird cryptic messages online and you could on the website kind of find secret routes through it, but it wasn't like a game like you're describing. It didn't kind of expand outward beyond that. It was just kind of fun secrets. I like that. That's cool. I could put in minimal amount of like layperson effort and kind of find some secrets out. But when it started becoming really difficult, it was too much. Geocaching I did do for a little bit because, again, there wasn't like a skill barrier or an intelligence barrier to it. It was just like, go to this spot and then snoop around a little bit and you'll find something. And so that was really fun for me. But those things that you're talking about were like a little too smart for me, a little too nerve-wracking and intense. So I'm really curious about it.
I loved reading about that stuff, but I sort of ignored most of it. And I feel like, you know, if we're talking about like the internet sort of changing your behavior or making you do stuff in real life, I kind of came through it through like finding bands on the internet and then going to see them, or going to comic conventions and like knowing what everyone's costumes were. I feel like it wasn't until Pokemon Go that those two worlds for me collided, and I was like, cool, like I could wrap my head around this. And you know,
that was like the most public version of that ever. You know what I mean? That was like worldwide craziness.
I think there was like a brief thing where I did plank, I think. And
I planked twice.
Did you plank? You planked twice?
Twice.
Fun Ryan lore for everybody. I did a meme like planking at the time called Hadoukening, where you would jump and look like you're doing a Hadouken from Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And it got
the photo, like getting the photo of it.
Yeah, you freeze frame, right?
Yeah.
And I got reached out to by a Japanese news agency that sent a team to New York to interview me about how I, as a gaijin, had heard about this meme. And then they sent me a CD-ROM that I have somewhere that has my interview on it, and I've been dubbed in Japanese, and they even have the like variety show thing where there's like an old Japanese guy in the corner of the screen going like
commenting on you as you're doing it.
Like making comments.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like one of my my most precious moments, like, and they just like couldn't wrap their heads around that like white people in America were doing this meme that was popular on Japanese social media. It was
But
a simple
all
time.
of that cross pollinates now, where it's like any meme pops up anywhere in the world, and it's like everybody sees it everywhere all at once now.
Yeah,
it's very different.
Very different.
I ice bike a challenge, but I did that for personal reasons. I didn't film it. That's just for me.
You just did it to do it. I did it. I ice bucket challenge, but I was in my office and we couldn't. It was all carpeting, so we couldn't do it that way. So they were like, how are we going to do it? And so I had two guys pick me up by my legs and dunk my head down.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we did
that's waterboarding.
Yeah, they basically waterboarded me. Yeah.
I got really into the ice bucket challenge for a very personal is not the right word, but like selfish reason, that it was like getting a bunch of uncles wet. Like all over the place. It was just like older dad type.
You did the wet uncle challenge?
No, basically just that it was like men that I find hot.
Oh, I
like
see.
Of a certain age and demographic who like run firehouses or printing supply companies getting wet on camera.
Oh.
And it was just like, this is hot. And they're doing it everywhere. And so I was like, I'm gonna read into it. And I like looked into it more and found videos with like 100 views of like New Jersey uncles being like, I'm doing this for my son. And I was like, this is so hot and so weird that I'm like really into this.
I had never considered.
Yes. Gay brains go so far into the weirdest reaches of the universe.
That's amazing.
That was something that I locked into. I was like, this is tight.
Okay. Well, I'm
so happy for you.
We're gonna find a way to loop that back into the actual topic of today's episode after a word from our sponsors, whoever is brave enough to put their ad on this episode.
Wet Hot Uncles.
Yeah, Wet Hot Uncles.
Hi, Grant podcast. This one you're listening to, other guy. I was talking to my therapist, and don't worry, this is not an ad for a therapy app or anything like that. And I was describing that day to day now in my mid 30s, I'm much happier. My days are generally pretty pleasant. I experience joy and I'm not debilitated by anxiety, but I don't have the same lust for life that I had when I was younger, like all the excitement and life is about to start. And she said, what if we focus on like what does bring you joy now and what does give you a sense of excitement for the future? And I said, thinking about how much money my loved ones can save using Mint Mobile just makes me feel like I'm 25 again. Every time I get to tell people stop overpaying for wireless just because that's how it's always been, Mint exists purely to fix that. I feel that lust for life return. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. That's as much as I spend in New York on coffee, and I'm only slightly exaggerating. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. We love 5G here at Courier. Bring your own phone and number so that way everyone can still follow you and track all your movements. Activate with eSIM in minutes and start saving immediately. No long-term contracts, no hassle. Ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. Wow. And my therapist said, thank you so much for telling me this. Not because I particularly care about how that brings joy back to your life, but because I've been trying to get off big wireless carriers for forever. And she said, but Grant, where do I go? And I said, if you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/courier. That's mintmobile.com/courier. Upfront payments of $45 for 3 months, 5 gigabyte plans required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plans options available. Taxes and fees, see extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Okay, so 4 years after sort of the peak of these kind of ARGs, we get Cicada 3301. And it doesn't tie into a movie. It doesn't really tie into any kind of mystery that people are aware of. And this guy, Erickson, thought he had cracked the code, but he receives a picture of a duck that's basically taunting him. Okay. He decides he's going to keep playing, and he learns that the duck was another clue.
That is sort of what I suspected.
Did you?
Sort of, yes. Just seeing it, I was like, this doesn't seem like a gate or like a brick wall. This seems like an entry point. Yeah.
So he runs the duck through a decryption software, which takes him to a Reddit link. And then he realizes that there's like a pattern here. Cicadas, the little bugs, they only emerge on every prime number of a year, right? So it's 13 or 17. And that's so they don't synchronize with the life cycle of their predators. And that for Erickson was like a big clue.
Sorry, that's a real world thing you just said to me?
Yes. Those noisy little bugs appear only on prime number year intervals. All right. So for Erickson, that was sort of a big breakthrough moment. Not the stupid shit I just said, but like his thing. And so basically the Sydney Morning Herald writes down telephone lines out to several physical locations around the globe and into uncharted areas of the Darknet. So far, the hunt has required a knowledge of number theory, philosophy, and classical music, an interest in both cyberpunk literature and the Victorian occult. And it's all come in handy as well as an understanding of Mayan numerology. So this is what this game is starting to like incorporate. It's starting to pull all these different threads together. And basically,
he's the only one? He's the only one going through this now? Or
there's people all over the world trying to crack it, you know, and just for narrative's sake, we're going to be following his journey. The Sydney Herald did a really good job of capturing it, and they talk about how the game just gets more and more elaborate as people play it. There is like a character that gets kind of introduced, a woman known as Wind from Michigan, and she starts popping up on message boards, putting out false clues.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
New roadblock.
And then there's like a very big plot twist in all of this, which is that someone claims to be an ex-member of the group running this game, and they are trying to like mess with people, but they're also like trying to tell people what's going on. And so basically Cicada, this guy says, was a left-hand path religion that was disguising itself as like a scientific organization. And they were sort of building out this idea of like a shadowy government that was like, this is all part of the game. So this is like kind of confusing to say, but basically like they're sort of building out more and more lore. And this person is claiming that there's like a dangerous organization that's been running this whole thing. Feels very QAnon to me, actually.
Yeah.
Things used to be fun.
Yeah. But this was all fun, actually.
Did it also like start to obfuscate? Like, was it so cluttered with like bad actors like that, like sort of changing things up and putting false clues in, that the game itself kind of got worse to play?
It created more of a sense of community. Okay. And it starts taking over more and more of the players' lives, including Erickson, who's deep in the game and discovered a phone number.
Okay.
Very good. You have done well. There are 3 prime numbers associated with the original final .jpeg image. 3301 is one of them. You will have to find the other 2. Multiply all 3 of these numbers together and add a .com on the end to find the next step. Good luck. Goodbye.
Sick. Well, at least that one makes total sense to me about what the next step is. That's cool.
Yeah, it leads to a website that gives GPS coordinates once you kind of put all those numbers together. And then there's a countdown clock. And once the countdown reached 0, it showed 14 GPS coordinates around the world with locations in Warsaw, Paris, Seattle, Seoul, Arizona, California, New Orleans, Miami, Hawaii, and Sydney.
Jesus Christ.
This was huge. It was proof that like it wasn't just someone in a basement messing with people, but like some kind of organization. And so they are trying to figure out the final clues. And there were a couple that are interesting here. So they found a new code that used William Gibson's Agrippa, a Book of the Dead, as a cipher. It's a poem that do you know about this?
No, but I know William S. Gibson.
Yeah, so Agrippa, a Book of the Dead, it's an infamous poem that it was only meant to be read once and then destroy itself. Very Gibson. Very Gibson.
And that's the cipher? How the fuck?
So it was only published on a 3.5-inch floppy disk, and it was programmed to erase itself after you read it, which, by the way, like, that would be such cool merch.
Oh, yeah.
That would be so cool to, like, do something like that.
Anything that is, like, super temporary or transient or whatever, I've always thought is cool. Just where it's like you're doing something specifically for one purpose only, and then it disappears. Love that.
It would be cool, like, if... Yeah, I am not a professional touring musician, but perhaps someone who is. It would be cool to make a shirt that you had to buy at the beginning of the show, and then as you sweat during the show, it would destroy the shirt.
That's like edible underwear. Whatever
Yeah,
you call it.
like edible underwear, exactly. Or you could just sell edible underwear.
Yeah.
Or maybe like
Drains
a
it out.
big bucket of cold water pours
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
on certain
Yeah.
people in the audience.
Wet
Free
uncles.
for uncles.
Wet
Free for
uncles,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Love that.
Gibson's idea for a totally fungible poem, or non-fungible, I guess it would be totally non-fungible poem,
Yeah.
got kind of screwed up. Someone did record it, and it has been read live by Penn Jillette, obviously. Fucking sheriff of the no fun police, Penn Jillette. So from here, though, the Cicada players, they start to find like QR codes on lampposts, which send them to a Tor site. Are you familiar with Tor?
Like TOR?
Yeah.
Why am I familiar with Tor?
So a Tor browser is how you access onion sites, which are what the dark web is. Are you familiar with any of
Okay.
this?
Like vaguely. Like I think that's how I know about it, is somebody mentioned it to me in passing like this.
So
I was
basically,
just like, why is it sitting in the back of my head? Why do I know what that is?
I once used it to access the Silk Road to buy acid with Bitcoin for a Vice magazine article I was working on in the 2010s.
Incredibly specific reason, and I love that.
Dear FBI listening, I never received my acid and I was refunded. And
Fungible.
yeah, so a Tor browser is a VPN essentially, but it's made to access what are called .onion sites. So instead of .com, it would be .onion, and it's usually like a very encrypted address. And those websites are what you refer to as the dark web. So like, and there are like dark web onion versions of all kinds of popular services. For our listeners, we have a previous episode all about the dark web. You can go check out in our archive. So Erickson gets to the QR codes on the lampposts, gets to the Tor site, and he finds a message that reads, "We want the best, not the followers." And only the first people, so Erickson was too late, only the very first people to access the Tor site were emailed directly.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so
bummer for him.
yeah, he called it an anti-climax. And he said that he was too late to register his email at the Tor hidden service. And he said that if his sleep-wake cycle had been different, I believe I would have been among the first. And so all the cicadas go underground again, and then they reemerge a year later. And we will finish our story about what happens after they reemerge after a word from our sponsors, the Silk Road, a great place to buy drugs and guns and tinned food.
This might be the only one that I don't know that we're going to get away with. We'll see. This might
The Silk
might
Road.
be the one, right?
The creator of it was just released from prison, finally.
Oh my God.
I think so, right? Let me just double check that. I want to make sure oh, yeah. Is he still in jail? I think he's still in jail.
Is he the new Secretary of Defense or whatever? Is he replacing Christine?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. The Silk Road, whose creator Ross Ulbricht was pardoned by Donald Trump in January 2025. So
Jesus
he's out, baby.
Christ.
Justice for Ross. I don't think he should have gone to jail for as long as he did. It emerged on. It first emerged in 2012. Grant, wait.
On 4chan. Yeah, I think.
Oh,
it's 4chan.
Okay. So now we're a year later. It emerges again. It will emerge a third time in 2014, but we'll get there. So in 2013, a message is posted to B and X. So B is 4chan's random board, and X is their paranormal board. So that's like the spooky, scary one.
Cool.
And the message reads, "Hello again. Our search for intelligent individuals now continues. The first clue is hidden within this image. Find it, and it will lead you on the road to finding us. We look forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck, 3301. And this puzzle was different. We're not going to go super deep into it, but basically you had to do a lot more to kind of unpack what was in there. There was like a questionnaire that came along with it. And the questions included questions like there is no truth, like they're not really even questions. I don't know how to describe this really. It's like really strange. It's stuff that reads like there is no truth. What you are is more important than what you do. You cannot step into the same river twice. Observation changes the thing being observed. This sentence is false. They're closer to like puzzles or riddles. I guess I would
it
say.
sounds like a strange, like another vetting process, like another thing that like you have to figure this out versus just asking.
Exactly. And then there were like essay questions involved as well. Like one,
Ooh.
I know. What is this? The new SATs? Boo. One of the essay questions was name similarities between the concept and reality of the news feed on Facebook.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Yeah.
So not a game you want to play? This doesn't sound fun to you.
Like that's where I'm coming from philosophically with all this. It's just like, damn, dude, no, I just want to have a good time.
This is my problem with a lot of this stuff, though. I mean, I feel like Slender Man kind of ended up this way too. Like a lot of these things are like they're fun and they're interesting, and then everyone's like, we should keep doing it, and then it gets dumber and worse and weirder.
Yeah, and like hits like an academia wall or something like that, where it just becomes so much more about like, are you a good writer versus like, are you having a good time and are you solving puzzles and stuff? I don't know what I'm saying other than like, I know how much it doesn't appeal to me, which is why I'm super excited to hear where it ends up going.
Well, what ends up happening, the group goes kind of under again and resurfaces in 2014. Mm-hmm. There are a bunch of fakes on 4chan flying around, obviously. But this time, the puzzle starts with the Twitter account that was used for the 2013 puzzle.
Okay.
I think it's like a sign of the times that they're not on 4chan anymore by 2014.
Yeah.
Like things weren't really fun there anymore.
Yeah.
Happened on 4chan in 2014.
Well,
right?
it's interesting. This is pre-Gamergate, but I think people forget that even before Gamergate, by this point, 4chan was getting pretty gnarly. It was a pretty nasty place to be. So they're on Twitter this time, and the final puzzle gets some people an invitation to like a club, but everyone else gets a bunch of elaborately encrypted files called the Liber Primus, and a lot of these.
Sorry, did it call itself the final puzzle, or is this just sort of the last one that showed up?
I think it's just the last one that showed up. Okay. I don't think there was like any sort of like this is over, or this is going to end.
Yeah.
A lot of the encrypted puzzles that they released have not actually been solved even today, which is interesting.
Jeez, that is interesting.
And then since the end of the 2014 puzzle, they've basically been totally dormant. There were messages in 2015. I guess the group behind it responded to news articles that blamed them for a hack of Planned Parenthood.
Whoa. I'm assuming they were like, it wasn't us.
Oh, you think that they would ever be that direct about anything? I'm sure they're like, search your soul.
Ask the eagle. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the you in your head is the you in real life? You know?
The explosive in the hand.
Yeah.
It's not the explosive on the duck.
So their official statement at the time to the LA Times was, we've noticed quite a lot of attention has been diverted to a supposedly malicious organization known as Planned Parenthood. The actions of this federation are not seen as right in the eyes of the public. So here we are, the social justice warriors. Which like doesn't, I don't know.
I don't think that makes any sense, Ryan.
Yeah.
It's also kind of unclear like exactly how affiliated these guys were with all of this, because like it's a hacker group that goes by 3301, and they allegedly hacked into Planned Parenthood's website because it was extremely outdated and broken, and then they were all weird about why they did it. Mm-hmm. This is something that I think was happening a lot in the 2010s, and this is, you could even argue, happened with like WikiLeaks and QAnon, which is like, once you create a piece of internet culture, there's no one in charge of it, and there's not really a good way to stop anyone from just taking it and doing whatever they want with it, which is exciting, but it's also like extremely chaotic.
Yeah. It's like deregulated or whatever, to the point where like it becomes smoke and mirrors all the time. You never know what's happening, you know?
I'm sure I'll be told if I'm wrong about this, but I think especially in an ARG space, you're working, you know, in such fuzzy spaces already. Like you're sort of looking for clues, and it's all very conspiratorial, that like I think it's very easy to get turned around, or to have people take over a project and not realize it, and that, you know, something has changed. Like There's a final message that is posted by the group in 2016. It's uploaded to a website made by the people who solved one of the old puzzles. The message reads, "Hello. The path lies empty. Epiphany seeks the devoted. Liber Primus is the way. Its words are the map. Their meaning is the road, and their numbers are the direction. Seek, and you will be found. Good luck. 3301. I feel like these guys are like... This is like some steampunk shit. I feel like this is just like this is just getting like
off the top, like from the first message, nobody thought to themselves like, wait, are these guys cool?
Right.
Or are they losers?
Right. This is like the kind of thing that like a guy would say to you when you beat him at Magic the Gathering at like a hobby shop.
Yeah.
He'd be like, Liber Primus is the way. And it's like, oh boy, you know.
And then he's like, in his mind, like, I got that guy, and everybody else in the room is like, man,
right,
we're gonna go get lunch. You know.
But who do you, based on what you've heard today, like who do you think was behind all of this?
I mean, like, the way I have been absorbing this story, I have not put a personage to anything. Like, it's so vague to me behind the veil, and that's how these always seem. So I have no clue. No clue.
Well,
William S. Gibson.
You're right. Fuck. Well done, Will.
Wait. Shut up.
No.
I was like, no fucking way. You got me so excited.
No, it was actually done by I was gonna make a joke about like Deloitte or like some like marketing firm, but basically one of the most popular theories about who was behind it appeared immediately, and it was sort of one of the most popular ones, which was that it was a headhunting exercise for the Secret Service.
Whoa!
I can't imagine like any actual adult with a job would think that, but like a lot of people on 4chan thought that.
The idea being that it was headhunting for people who were good enough to figure it out, that they were like, oh, we have to get rid of these people?
I think 4chan thought that the Secret Service was doing like a Last Starfighter, you know, where it's like, if you can like solve the puzzle, you get to join the Secret Service.
Okay.
Which, like, there's easier ways to get people to join. Like,
yeah,
like,
that's also
you can just join the Secret
doing
Service.
it. Yeah.
But then you don't get the sharpest minds who have no lives.
Also, my understanding is like it's fairly easy to join the Secret Service. Actually, it's much harder to join like the CIA or something. But like, you can just apply for the Secret Service.
Full disclosure, I don't really know the difference
between the CIA and the Secret Service. Secret Service, you know.
Are they the ones like on the ground? Are they boots on the ground? And then CIA
they're the ones following the president around.
Okay.
And then the CIA are the ones that are, well, they're very busy right now in Iran and Venezuela and Greenland and Canada and Cuba and anyways.
Okay.
So their idea, though, that this was a Last Starfighter for the Secret Service isn't totally crazy, I should say, because in 1942, there was a crossword puzzle that appeared in the pages of the Daily Telegraph in the UK. And it was so complicated and like people couldn't figure out like what it was. But
being like an early example of this sort of.
Yeah. Well, so everyone who solved this crossword received invitations to work in the cryptography department of the great Alan Turing. Now that's possibly apocryphal. I'm also not totally clear how you would let the newspaper know that you solved the crossword in 1942. I guess if you like mailed it in.
Yeah.
I don't
carrier pigeon.
I don't. I guess. Yeah, I'm
you
like
have to build a computer and email them back.
It's a fun story. I'm not exactly sure how you would do that. I guess.
I like that though. Like even if that's not true, love that shit. That's great.
Yeah, it is cool. It's like, it's cool. Also, DARPA in 2009 kind of did a similar thing where they deployed 10 weather balloons across the United States, and they awarded the first team to correctly identify every location with a $40,000 prize. So like these things have happened in the past.
Yeah.
The main clue we have about who was behind this game comes from an email that was allegedly leaked to some of the winners. And the email reads, "We are an international group. We have no name. We have no symbol. We have no membership rosters. We do not have a public website. And we do not advertise ourselves. You are undoubtedly wondering what it is we do. We are much like a think tank in that our primary focus is on researching and developing techniques to aid the ideas we advocate. Liberty, privacy, security. You've undoubtedly heard of a few of our past projects. And if you choose to accept membership, we are happy to have you on board to help with future projects."
Cute. Okay.
Here's the thing. I've been thinking about this a lot recently because of Epstein and other sort of, nefarious organizations being leaked to the public.
Mm-hmm.
You can just start a group. That doesn't mean that your group matters.
Yeah.
Like, you could just start a group. Like, we could do it right now.
Yeah.
And we could be like, "Oh, you got to do all this dumb bullshit to join our group."
That was literally me saying, like, are they cool or are they like
Yeah.
a total wash? Like at the start of it, like it's kind of important. Like, are they coming from something that's like actually going to make a difference, or is it like you're saying?
Like,
you're actually right. It is just lame people who are in a think tank.
Yeah,
right.
You did actually nail it.
That doesn't mean anything to be in a group. You could just anyone can start a group.
Yeah.
So the other clue that we have multiple interviews with a teenage coder from the Bay Area who is going by Tech.nology. Sick.
Amazing.
It's pretty good.
Does he make electronic music?
I mean, what a waste of a name if you didn't.
That's what I'm saying. That's like Basement King if I've ever heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Technology spoke to the press multiple times claiming he got into the group. Like, he got into 3301. And he did an interview with WNYC where they said Technology says the site consisted of part message board, part chat room with a private messaging feature as well. In the chat room section of the site, Technology saw about 20 members. They wanted to make it seem like they were this network of people that had infiltrated, if that's the right word, various private and public organizations. I expressed interest in publishing a story. One of the leaders, I guess you could call it, he said, "Hey, wait a bit. We have people at Wired. We can get that published for you." He thinks it was too informal to be a front for any serious group. And one of the sources we've been using for this episode seems to confirm this. Joel Erickson seems to have had some success eventually getting in. And he wrote in 2022, "There was never a prize for the Cicada 3301 puzzle. The goal was to find intelligent people to join their group and to develop tools and spread awareness regarding how to avoid censorship and enforce privacy and anonymity."
Okay, before you go any further,
yeah.
that is the most like concise and comfortable philosophy I've heard from any of this or from any of these people at all, where they're just like, it would be nice if people who are up to this tier can make a difference, is basically what they're saying, which is like without any of the other garbage or like mumbo jumbo between it. So I like that. That's the first one. I'm like, okay, I see you. You know what I mean?
I'm conflicted about it, where I'm like, it's kind of neat. It's kind of a neat, although like with everything, I'm always like, all right,
healthy skepticism and like,
yeah, like you're talking about like avoiding censorship and liberty and, enforcing privacy.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, guy in Civil War with glasses, like, what kind of liberty?
Yeah.
like
very real, very true.
I just, I always wonder, the most evil organization on earth is gonna be called like the Best Friends Club.
Yeah,
exactly.
Chris,
very good point.
Yeah. But it's funny. I was invited into a secret internet society in the 2000s. Actually, Grant does not know this because I have never talked about it publicly, and I cannot actually name them. I don't want to name them, but you will sometimes see sometimes see references to them. Although I guess it's public now. I just Googled to make sure that like I'm not the first person to talk about it. I'm not. Okay.
You don't come under duress or whatever.
I haven't checked in on it in a long time. I was invited into Lulinks. Were you in Lulinks?
All right. So Will's face, for people who are listening to the audio version of this, Will lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Said nothing and gasped and then made a hand gesture.
Yes.
That was that pulse.
So were you in there? Were you in Lulinks?
I was in there. I was the most cursory user of that website. I barely interacted with it, but I had my album pop off. My music popped off partially because of posting it on that website.
That's how I heard about you to begin with, I think.
That is very much how you probably heard about me.
For all of us who were not invited to this club because we were offline, what is this?
Without going way too deep into it, it was the simplest possible UI for a website you can possibly imagine. It was just threads. It was just text threads. Sometimes there were images. And some of them, like the idea being that you could post whatever you want and nobody would stop you. So some of them got grotesque and horrifying, and a lot of them were way more normal. And the stuff that was way more normal is what ended up kind of mostly populating it.
Yeah,
I hope I'm not going to get in trouble by giving.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope not either. I mean, there's a subreddit for it. Okay, so like, I think we're okay.
We're fine.
There was a code word that I can't remember. I think it was like you would say Tibet or Nepal. It had some connection to the llama guy mascot, but like, basically. So Lulinks stood for it's an acronym. It started as a game facts, a game FAQs board, and it spun out. And it's Life, the Universe, and Everything.
Yes.
And it was a kind of like a 4chan-esque site, but it had a ton of piracy. I was sort of pitched it as like, you can download so much shit on this website. Yeah. And so for a long time, I was getting a lot of music, I was getting a lot of movies. And then from Lulinks, I got an invite to what.cd and Waffles, which were like the members only like BitTorrent communities.
And for me saying I had a cursory relationship with it is because I never even interacted with that stuff because I was literally so naive and too afraid. I was too afraid to interact with any piracy, anything. So I was barely in there because I was like, I don't want to get in trouble. But I will talk about video games and music. You know what I mean?
I downloaded so much. Like, I downloaded so much. It's crazy.
I love it.
I went to college with hard drives full of stolen
Hell
media.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I think in one of those like giant Lou threads, it's how I ended up pressing play on an album that I would later discover was All Hail West Texas by the Mountain Goats. And like literally like when Aang in Last Airbender gets like the knot in his back opened and you just see I was just like,
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So anyways, all of that to say that I'm still kind of like floored about the Lulinks thing. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I meet one person every 4 years who is on that website. You know what I mean?
How did you both get invited?
I got invited through a friend of mine, Adam, at the time, and Adam got invited through someone, but then he got kind of high up in Lulinks because a lot of the moderators were living in Massachusetts in the 2000s and where we were. And so he would go to like mod meetups for Lulinks. I never did. And I eventually kind of tapped. I have a friend who's still in there actually. Or he was up until the very end.
Yeah. I checked in on my account like fairly recently, like within a year or something, and I'm gone. I have no access anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know how to access it anymore because that wasn't the URL. It was like,
something else.
How did you get involved, Will?
I do think initially it was a music thing, or it was because I had a friend who was very tech savvy and just liked me and thought I had like decent opinions on stuff and was like, you should check this out. It's like fun and quirky and weird. There is probably a specific person I'm not remembering who I could point to as being the person who let me in, but I don't remember. I do know that I was utterly obsessed with The Matrix, and I feel like whoever was like also down with that, there was kind of this like awareness of each other, and I think through that I probably knew that person who let me in. So
that's awesome. I mean, it's so funny to think about like 4chan, Something Awful, GameFAQs, Lulinks, and a couple other websites.
Yeah. Mine was LiveJournal.
Yeah, live, but I mean those communities in particular, I thought of them as being so big, and what has become very clear to me over the years is that there was probably about 1,000 people across all of them.
Yeah.
And they're like, you just meet people who were like, it's very funny.
Bizarre.
Wow.
Bizarre.
And now they've brought us to war.
Well, no, that was I'm talking about the first wave of people, not the second wave of people.
Now you're all bastions in media and music.
Now we're all podcasters. We're all podcasters and DJs and electronic musicians now.
I know. Like to me, what all of that is it's just a subset of nerd culture, where it's like nerd culture always culminates in the same thing of people being fans of stuff and wanting to share that and talk about it with other people. And when you get cooler, vibier ways of doing that are outside of like prying eyes who like add nothing to the conversation, that's really exciting. And places like Lulinks and all these other places were cool because you could do that. But at the same time, as you grow older in spaces like that, the feedback loop of kind of constantly yes-manning your opinions on all of that stuff becomes less exciting, and you want to hear from other people. You want to hear when people are like not into something or not into it for the right reasons or whatever it is, and you realize that like it's better sometimes to talk about it with as many people as possible and get like a more varied perspective on things. And then sometimes it goes way too far into something like Twitter, which I was also obsessed with, where it's like you're posting something that you think is funny and then people think you're a horrible person and you don't even know them and you don't even know where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Like it's
many such cases.
Yeah, many such cases, blah, 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 blah. But that's basically just me reconstructing my separation from something like Lulinks, where it wasn't like dramatic. It was just sort of like, oh, I think I've moved beyond wanting to only talk about these things with these people. I want to kind of like, you know, hear from people in real life and expand and whatever. So
yeah, obviously, like I had the social media connection with people I knew in real life, you know, through AIM or MySpace or whatever.
Yeah,
but talking to internet strangers, I kind of went from the 4chan and the Lulinks world to Tumblr around 2008, and that really replaced that for me. And I was like, oh, this is actually much better.
Yeah,
because there's women here.
Yeah, that was me with both Twitter, way more Twitter at first when it was really, really popping, because it was the first place where I realized you could post stream of consciousness and nobody could stop you, which was incredible and very liberating. And then Vine. I was obsessed with Vine. Yeah. I had a number of Vines, not to brag, that exploded, that people still quote to this day. I don't know if around Christmas time you ever hear people saying like, you better watch out, you better watch out, you better watch out, over and over and over.
I do that every year. That was
my Vine with my brother. We gave that to the world.
That was you?
That was me and my brother. The film of it is me looking at my brother in his bedroom. And it's both of us just going, you better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out. I'm watching it right now. That's amazing. That's incredible. So it's shit like that, where it's like, that's where I was living. You know, Vine was amazing when it was.
I'm realizing the ARG is actually finding where you've been on the internet over the last 25 years.
The pockets where I pop up.
Yeah, just find you. Yeah. So one last thing here for our story before we totally wrap. For our Patreon listeners, you can go over and listen to a conversation that Grant recorded with Guardian reporter Alex Hearn, who played the third iteration of Cicada 3301.
Ooh.
Grant, can you tell us a little bit about what Alex told you?
I'm so curious about this.
So also, Alex is a Garbage Day reader and a close friend of mine, and I did not know that Grant reached out to him about this. So I'm curious. Yeah.
I recorded that like 8 months ago. I remember none of it besides that I saw it in the bottom of this outline, but I do what I do remember, because it was in the notes of the outline, is that a big part of Cicada was not just the game, but who's behind the game, and a lot of people theorizing, and that like we have lost, the internet's too dangerous now to let a mystery like that be fun. Like now this is QAnon.
Yeah.
Now this is like
surveillance state nightmare shit.
Yeah.
It's very easy to see how something like this leads us 5 years later to, it's the worst version of it.
But I've been thinking about this actually, and I want to sort of end on this idea, because we spent a large chunk of today talking about the excitement of the internet when it was new, and I think it's very easy to sort of think about it that way. There were plenty of problems on the internet back then, like plenty. Lulinks had like gore and torture porn on there and stuff. Yeah, it was a mean place. It was a mean place.
Yeah.
But I do think that there are these moments when you get a new technology or a new media environment or a new way of socializing or a new sort of birth of culture, and you can do things that are like they've maybe never been possible before, or there's room to experiment, there's room to have fun, and it's not important yet. And I guess, like, Will, like, do you think that can happen again? Do you think it will happen again? Like, yes, I'm kind of optimistic about it.
Yes, but there's an exact formula that needs to exist that can barely perpetuate itself. It barely exists if ever. And it's that same conceit that's always been around where like, what is it where it's like ultimate power and ultimate corruption? What's the idiom about that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Ultimate power corrupts absolutely.
There it is. That basically when you're talking about something like Discord, like TikTok, like whatever it is, the only way those things can exist is where the power at the center of it has no greed. And that is impossible. You know what I mean? But if something like that were to exist where like somebody creates Vine and then never sells it because they don't care about making money, that's the way something like that can exist in perpetuity and expand and blossom and become something beautiful. But that never happens because everybody always just wants to make money off of it. So it always turns into shit and it gets sold off, or it expands into something that is completely outside of the philosophy of what the thing was in the first place. I have a lot of ire for the disappearance of Vine because that is how it happened.
I loved
it so much. I was literally there from when it started, when the first 3 months of it were only porn, because people were just like, I can pull my dick for 6 seconds and nobody's going to stop me. It was
no
insane.
one can stop you.
It was amazing and crazy. And then it turned into this beautiful thing that was like highly social, highly like integrated with people I had never met before. I was kind of becoming friends with. Like, it was amazing. But it's that same conceit where like it won't exist unless there is the thing at the top existing greedlessly, and that is just an impossibility. You know what I mean? The closest thing we've come to something like that is maybe like Ben and Jerry's sometimes, Arizona Tea sometimes, you know what I mean? And those are not social platforms. Those are just random products. But
True Social
thing.
Yeah. Well, okay, wait. So I don't disagree with you, but it's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. I was actually coming at it from a different direction, and I want your take on it, which is like, and I don't disagree with you, but I also wonder if it's about expectation. When the internet was still considered to be this thing that like wasn't like TV, it might not it might not even exist in 5 years. Like nobody gives a shit about it. You could kind of do whatever you wanted with it.
Yeah.
And it's not that you can't now. Like, that's the crazy thing, is like, it's actually easier. I have a friend, he's a developer. We talk about this all the time, where he's like, it's actually crazy. It's easier to make a personal website now than it has ever been. It is basically like zero money.
Yeah. But nobody's doing that.
Nobody's doing it. And so it's not so much like the internet itself is worse now. It's that what people are really saying is, if I go make a cool thing on the internet, no one will see it. So why would I bother? Mm-hmm. I agree with you that there is this like massive amount of money tied up in all of this now.
Yeah.
But it's also the social expectations of
what it is.
The fact that you and I were on the same members only, invite only website in the 2000s means that there were not a lot of people on the internet back then.
Oh, exactly.
Statistically, they would have to be not a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I do wonder, like, are we thinking about these things and kind of judging them by the standards of today unfairly? So it's not so much like
very, very true. Like, literally, visibility is everything. That's the only reason that people engage with most things that are fun things on the internet, is like, it's very, very real. And the idea of like, let's say, like, coming from my world of things, a band is like, we made a website. We spent like 4 months on it. We're super proud of it. Come check it out. That's getting like infinitely less attention because it's not as comfortably shareable. It's not as comfortably summarizable.
Right.
You know, it's not dumbed down the way people need those things to be. It's also not in a media format that is accessible like a movie or a TV show or an album or whatever it is. So I completely understand that. I think that's a super, super valid way of thinking about it too. Like, I think mine is coming from the unfortunate place of like only considering.
I think yours explains why it's like that, though.
Yeah.
I think it's the money has moved, and so the expectations have changed.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer.
Such a bummer.
And I don't want to end on a bummer. So I'll ask this question. What is like something like, in the sort of world that we've been talking about, this sort of like people experimenting, doing weird things on the internet, doing weird things with technology, what's a new thing like this that you've seen recently that you're like, that's cool, that's neat? Anything? Could be music, could be a cool website, could be whatever. What?
I'm trying so hard. I mean, I think that there's a lot of innovations within formats. Like there's a lot of music that I think is like, this is undeniably the most forward thinking thing I've ever heard, or games that kind of do that, or like play like unlike anything else I've ever played. So there's things like that, but like exactly what we're talking about right now, we'll start to talk about AI in that way, or like think that it's like this most revolutionary thing in the entire world. It is vehemently, from me, not that. It is something that is 100%. So cooked and so not what people think it is. And can I say something that is so unrelated to this, even though it kind of is? That is, of course. Like, to me, the only way you get the things that you're talking about, like stuff that is like boundless and completely unprecedented, is by having like a stable economy and funding for the arts. You know what I mean?
You segued perfectly into what I was going to say, which was Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, bankrolled by Canadian taxpayers.
Perfect.
I have been beaming for weeks since seeing it, because I was like, this is, and I don't think it's an accident that it's like old internet guys that sort of like went off and did side quests for 10 years and came back and did something where I was like, this is the breath of fresh air creatively that I felt like I've been missing for a decade.
And they have been so public about the circumstance of that movie existing, which is why it's the perfect segue, that it's what you're saying. It's like the Canadian government bankrolled it. Also, the laws around like censorship and the way that they did things in it are so much more lax and way not outside of surveillance state, but just kind of like less than
and
the
messing
US.
with the surveillance state, like playing around with it. It's so cool, man.
It's amazing. And so that's what I'm talking about, where it's like, that's what I'm always hoping for, is that more of that world can exist in the world worldwide. Like not something that's just accessible to us, but then like internationally in much smaller countries, also in third world countries, somehow getting like more and more funding for people doing new, weird, innovative shit. And all the time we're hearing about like the small, it's not small, but it's, I guess, like in my own listening, it's kind of like a smaller thing, but the wave of like Brazil funk music. I don't know if you know anything about this.
I lived in Sao Paulo for 4 years. I'm a huge connoisseur of Brazilian funk music.
So I am not, I am a tourist, but every time I hear it, I'm like, this is literally the most future shit I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't even know how that exists other than people just having the freedom to fuck around and do whatever they want with anything. And it's like, you'll see visuals of it, of like that guy DJ Ramon's successor, who's like he's kind of one of the biggest figureheads of sort of that scene, but also is totally his own thing. Like me finding out about him was watching him DJ on like the shittiest piece of equipment in the world, with the camera like shaking and almost
I know the video. I know
interrupting the music. It looks like it was like everything in the video cost like maybe $150 or something like that, and it's the most forward thinking thing I've ever heard. That's what I'm talking about.
Have you ever heard of the Brazilian genre Forró? Forró?
No, I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm a musician professionally. I know barely anything. So
okay, I think that's what it's called here. I'm gonna get totally slammed by.
I mean, just as a quick example, while you're looking, like there was a song I heard that is literally like an alarm. The drop is an alarm. There's no kick drum. There's nothing else. It's people talking, and then an alarm goes off, and it's 3 minutes. And I was like, nobody in the West could fathom this.
It's awesome.
You cannot even possibly imagine something like that.
Okay, so I double check because I don't want to get slammed, and then we have to wrap this up because I can see Grant just like sweating thinking about editing this. So Forró is a like Brazilian version of like almost like country music, like dance music. But a lot of DJs, what they're doing is they're taking the traditional folk beat of the Forró music, and then they'll slap on top of it like a phone recording of like Rihanna's Umbrella, and they'll just like compress the two together, and it's the most insane fucking future shit you've ever heard, because there's no question about like, does this make sense? Is this good? It's just like
it's so unknowable and new. Like that is what I'm always seeking. Like my heart of hearts in the world, all I want is to be in the unknown, to experience things that I have no context for, no understanding of, so that I'm shocked into that state of awe again and being like, I can't believe the world can do this. I can't believe human beings are capable of this. You know what I mean? Like, that's my favorite feeling in the entire fucking world. And I get it every now and then. I get it like every couple years. There's something I hear or experience or see that I'm just like, that's what my entire life is all about, is experiencing this kind of shit. And that comes from stable economies,
like
free art,
art, and I can do this. The feeling of discovering a mystery, of sort of refreshing the page, of digging deeper and deeper, and being bombarded with new ideas, that can happen again when you decouple expression online from making a lot of money and the expectation that a lot of people have to see it for it to be successful. Okay, and if you
round of applause for that segue.
If you remove those two pressures, it can happen again. And so, Will,
that's why you got to join Cicada.
That's what you got to do. 301. Will, I want to thank you for coming on the show. This was great. I literally could do this for hours. So if people want to follow you online, other than Vine, where can they follow you?
Vine is now dead, unfortunately, but I am fairly active, unfortunately, on Twitter still.
Me too.
Everything everywhere is Baths Music. BATHSMUSIC. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, but that's just reposting. I would say Instagram or Twitter. Those are the main things.
Yeah. Do you have tour dates coming up?
Yes. I don't know when this show is coming out, but towards the end of March and all through April and May, I'm doing a world tour surrounding the release of the reissue of my first record, Cerulean. So it's called Cerulean R, and I'm doing a bunch of tour dates for it. And there's 4 in the US, 1 in Canada, 2 in Australia, 1 in Tokyo, and 1 in London. And that's it. And it's like 10 shows.
I cannot wait to see My Excuse to Travel live again.
Well, you're in luck. I'm going to play it.
Hey, it's Ryan. If you like what you just watched, subscribe to our channel and check out our other episodes. Not only will it help us grow, but each will help other folks like you who might need a little reminder to chill out and touch grass.